Welcome. Today it's lesson 143, a review of lessons 125 and 126. And in this review portion of the Course in Miracles workbook, we're looking at allowing my mind to only hold what I think with God. And so we come to a place of opening and allowing these ideas to be what we think on, what we hold in mind, and therefore give these ideas to ourselves. And that's one of the lessons today, lesson 126. All that I give is given to myself. So the Course has been teaching us that what we hold in mind actually is the cause of what's out there, what we're perceiving with physical senses in the world. So what kinds of things have I been holding in mind and giving to myself? And so if I'm holding in mind resentments and grudges and attacks and guilting, that's what I'm giving to myself. That's what I'm putting out there in the world. And if I knew that whatever I was holding in mind about anyone that seems to be out there and separate from me, that's what I'm giving to myself. So why would I give myself any negative thoughts? Why would I give myself attacks? Why would I give myself guilt? And why would I give myself sin? So if what I'm holding in mind with God is going out there and becoming this world, I'm giving myself this? I'm giving myself everything that I'm perceiving in this physical, with my physical senses? This is a very empowering thought and could bring up any of this energy, any of this feeling that has me perpetuating and continuing to create and continuing to cause in the world the things that I've been attacking and guilting, giving myself this stuff. So we're going to look at that. What are we giving ourselves in these thoughts, releasing some of that energy? And then in quiet, I receive God's word today. Lesson 125. So if I get my ego, my belief in separation from God out of the way, what kinds of things am I going to be receiving? Am I going to be holding in mind with God? My mind holds only what I think with God. Could I quiet down all this noisiness that comes from this belief in separation? All these attacks, all this guilt, all this fear, so much fear believing that I'm separate and not the source, not the cause of the effects in the world. And could I just sit in quiet and receive God's word today, receive higher self's word today, receive Christ's word today, the true things. So what am I valuing that I'm focusing upon so much rather than just receiving in quiet that which is really here for me, that which is really here for you? Is there anything more valuable than that? Just being as you are, as God created you, the Son of God. My mind holds only what I think with God. All that I give is given to myself. All these things that I think are given to myself. And in quiet, I receive God's word today. I receive the truth today. So that's what we'll be releasing on in this lesson, lesson 143. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin. My mind holds only what I think with God. All that I give is given to myself. So if you had an infinitely powerful presence and being, and anything that you held in mind was immediately given to yourself, what have you been giving to yourself that you don't even want, that you don't want to cause in the world? This means any enemy, any person seemingly separate from you that you're holding in mind any kind of attack with, giving it right to you. So could that be okay? Could you, without attacking or stacking more guilt or condemnation upon what you're holding in mind, could you just notice anything you're giving to yourself, thinking it's somebody else that you'd prefer release from the world, prefer let go of from the world, if you're honest? And that's okay. Could you allow whatever thought came up, whatever you've been giving to yourself to come up, and notice the feeling behind giving yourself that? The feeling behind holding this in mind. And could you simply let that stir, let that come up, bring that energy to life, just with your awareness? And could you let that energy go, become enlightened? Rather than holding on to this and giving yourself more of this, could you just let it go? Lighten up. Would you? When could you let go and hold in mind only what you would receive from your higher self, only the truth? My mind holds only what I think with God. All that I give is given to myself. So if it's true that there's no separation out there, that anything that you're seeing around you is something that you've held in mind and created, caused, what have you been holding and giving to yourself? Any guilt, any attacks, any fear, and saying it's out there. It's about them, it's not about me. Could you just notice anything you'd prefer not give to yourself that you've been giving to yourself? Just dredging up any darkness that's been carried and held in mind. It's okay. Could you just acknowledge it? And then begin to ignore the thinking about it and just notice that energy, that feeling behind such thinking, behind giving that to yourself. And could you let it be there? Let that feeling be there without trying to change it, modify it. Just let that energy start to lighten just by letting it be there. And could you release that energy? Would you release it and all those thoughts that go with it? Free yourself and the world from this energy. When could you release and return to quiet to receive what you would really give yourself, the truth? Letting your mind hold only what you think with God. Receiving God's word. And Your mind holds only what you think with God. All that you give is given to yourself. What have you been holding that you would prefer not give yourself? Imagining a separate out there, not caused in here, as you think with God. Any attacking, any fear, any guilt. It's okay. Could you just take a look if there's something you're ready to surrender, give up, and release the world from, release yourself from? What are you done giving to yourself? And could you notice that feeling behind those thoughts? And could you welcome that feeling up, welcome it to light? No longer giving quarter to any darkness, this energy behind thoughts you don't even prefer to give yourself. And could you simply allow that energy up, start to lighten up, surrendering, giving it up? Letting it move, letting it leave, surrendering, turning over this darkness to light. Could you surrender this to God? Would you surrender it? Turn it over, give it up. When could you surrender what you've been giving yourself in the past and make way to receive what God really has for you? God's Word, and holding in mind only those things you think with God. There's no rush. It takes what it takes, and there could be more. So could you allow yourself this idea that my mind holds only what I think with God, and all that I give is given to myself, and in quiet I receive God's Word today. And so if there's any noisiness, anything stirring that you've been giving, causing in the world through thinking that you prefer not show up there, it doesn't feel so good. Could you just allow it to come up and release it, turn it over, and return to silence, to quiet, available to receive true thoughts that you think with God, and only hold those. Holding in mind love, light, salvation, forgiveness, Christ, infinite power, caring, and kindness. These things, giving yourself, giving the world. It's okay, other things will come up. Anytime we make a choice, the past choices will come to our awareness. Could you allow anything that comes up without beating yourself up about it, trying to force it away? And just be surrendering this energy behind such thoughts. releasing and returning to quiet, to receive and hold in mind only the thoughts you think with God. From wholeness, from oneness, at one as it was meant to be. At one would you attack? At one would you condemn? At one would you love? All of this one? My mind holds only what I think with God today. And I give up, giving myself separation and smallness. And in quiet, I receive what is here in truth for me. All that is when I release these illusions of separation. In quiet, you receive God's word today. Will you release the noise and hold in mind only what you think with God? Well done releasing. Thanks for being here.